Right now at 6, some community members campaign to save Joplin's historic Memorial Hall.
And we're looking ahead, alert day set for today due to the severe storm potential later on tonight.
Plus, the Carthage City Council finds Mayor Dan Reif guilty of 4 out of 5 articles of impeachment.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Elise Snowy.
And I'm Lindsay Gaffney.
Yes, and it's October 30th, Wednesday. One more day till Halloween, so it's Halloween Eve. I guess some people are calling it, and the weather's kind of going to be spooky today at least.
It is going to be spooky.
Yeah.
I like the transition there. It is going to be spooky, but it's setting up to give us a perfect Halloween.
Yes.
So that's, something to look forward to.
Right.
But until then, we can go ahead and take a look outside. We've got warmer temperatures to start, low 70s, winds gusting up to 30 miles per hour right now, and then strengthening a little bit over the next several hours. So we've got an alert day set for today due to the severe storms. So that's something to keep in mind as you plan the rest of your day. Storms could start as early as 3 p.m. We've got these wind gusts 30, 35 miles per hour pretty much for most of the day into early afternoon ahead of these storms. And then temperatures are going to be in the low 70s. Clouds start to move in as well. So we see these strong winds out of the south, and then you can't really see, but just out of our camera visual, you can see the line of storms, cold front that's going to be moving in later on this evening, and that's what's driving all of our storms. So we've got this elevated risk, which is a level 3 out of 5 severe threat for tonight. We haven't seen a level 3 out of 5 in months since the spring season. So this is going to be our first actual severe storm potential since last spring. And we've got this elevated risk for, clipping Bates County out in Missouri, clipping Newada and Washington County in Oklahoma, and then most of our counties in Kansas as well. So that threat is going to be for strong wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour, golf ball size hail, and even a potential for tornadoes. Now, our timing's 3 p.m. to midnight, but the main line of storms moving in at 8 p.m. So what we're seeing is 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. is going to be isolated storms popping up ahead of the main line, and that's where we could see our greatest potential for any tornadic development. And then after 8 p.m., we're seeing strong wind gusts, 80 mile per hour wind gusts as the main threat, along with hail as well. Now, we can't rule out potential for tornadoes even along the main line of storms, but that's going to be our expectation for tonight. We've got those clouds already starting to push in, and then we're even seeing, spike in rain chances along the main line, possibly seeing up to 2 inches of rain in some areas. So good things and some bad things along with these storms tonight, but heading into a great Halloween tomorrow, but I'll have more details coming up.
All right, Lindsay, thanks. Authorities charge a man after shots are fired in Joplin's downtown bar district. Over the weekend, police arrested 23-year-old Cade James Gilpin. He's now charged with unlawful use of a weapon following a Saturday morning incident on the 500 block of South Joplin. An investigation determined Gilpin was involved in an altercation. According to JPD, while Gilpin was in the city parking lot, he fired a gun and a 22-year-old man was struck in the eye by a bullet fragment or a piece of debris. The victim was rushed to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Gilpin posted a $10,000 bond. Jasper County authorities charge 3 people for unlawful gambling activity. All 3 are citizens of India in the U.S. on temporary visas. They're now facing charges of felony promoting gambling. The charges stem from a Joplin Police Department search last week at Spin Hitters, a local gaming machine location. Police seized business records, cash, and 47 machines. All 3 suspects have posted bond. Spin Hitters has remained closed since the search warrant and seizure. You can follow this story as it develops on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, a pickup rear-ended a MoDOT truck on Interstate 44 near the Joplin Stockyards yesterday. Troopers say the trucks were traveling at highway speed. Now, people were taken to the hospital, but the injuries were not life-threatening. And to be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, you can download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. Carthage City Council votes to impeach Mayor Dan Rife. Now, this comes after months of postponement. Last night, 6 members of the City Council voted in favor of the impeachment and found Mayor Dan Rife guilty of all articles of impeachment, except for one. And the articles accused Rife of violating his oath of office and failing to fulfill his duties as mayor. The board affirmed and declared Rife's removal from office of mayor of the city of Carthage as effective October 29, 2024. City Council voted on a motion of whether to adopt findings of fact. 6 of the members voted in favor to adopt the motion, which was enough to pass. Rife's attorney then moved to make another motion to stay the removal pending an appeal. That motion was denied. Councilman Alan Snow will serve as mayor for the time being. Well, community members in Joplin are coming together in an effort to save the historic Memorial Hall. The building was constructed in 1925 as a memorial for World War I veterans and has been used as a community space and venue for decades. Now, a partial roof collapse in June 2020 closed the building. Since then, its future has been uncertain, but earlier this year, City Council members moved in favor of demolishing the facility. Now, some community members have started a Save Memorial Hall campaign to encourage the City Council to consider options other than demolition for the historic site.
People have this idea that the building is ready to fall down, and it's not ready to fall down. And a lot of the issues that it has that are cited have been worked on and either repaired or repaired enough to where further damage isn't happening. I mean, if the building was getting ready to fall down, I don't think the city would be storing as much stuff in it.
According to officials, demolition would cost roughly $5 million, while repairs and renovations would be closer to $37 million. 2 years ago, a majority of Joplin voters said no to a bond issue that would have funded renovations to Memorial Hall. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes, coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Well, Starbucks is getting rid of its controversial olive oil coffee drinks that former CEO Howard Schultz pushed them on the menu. Plus, the 2024 presidential candidates are continuing their final push towards Election Day. And Lindsay Gaffney returns with another look at your Wednesday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Well, topping Nation Watch this morning, Starbucks is scrapping its controversial olive oil infused drinks less than a year after they debuted nationwide. The lineup of Aledo drinks will be eliminated from Starbucks' menus in the U.S. and Canada beginning in early November. Now, according to one source, it's part of the chain's broader effort to simplify a menu that new CEO Brian Niccol recently called overly complex. However, the source said the decision to nix the drinks was made before Niccol arrived. Aledo was former CEO Howard Schultz's idea. The beverage lineup was met with largely negative responses from media and consumers. Well, it's less than a week before the presidential election, and Americans are feeling more optimistic about the future of both the labor market and the broader U.S. economy. Now, that's according to the Conference Board's latest consumer survey. It shows that the Consumer Confidence Index jumped in October by the fastest clip since March of 2021. And the number of consumers anticipating a recession over the next 12 months dropped to its lowest level since July 2022. The increase in consumer confidence was broad-based across all age groups and most income groups. Americans say they're more upbeat over recent stock market gains and lower interest rates. Well, the 2024 presidential candidates are continuing their final push towards Election Day, which is now less than a week away. Today, Vice President Harris and former President Trump will both stomp through North Carolina and Wisconsin, with Harris also expected to make a stop in Pennsylvania. Trump was in the Keystone State yesterday, dealing with the fallout of one of his supporters' jokes insulting Puerto Rico. Now, while Harris laid out her final arguments in the shadow of the White House, Jared Hill has more on that from Cleveland, Ohio.
It is time for a new generation of leadership in America.
Vice President Kamala Harris, before her largest campaign crowd yet, gave her closing argument in the same place former President Donald Trump gave his January 6th speech.
This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge.
Trump took to the stage in Allentown, Pennsylvania shortly after, trying to woo Latino voters in the wake of a self-described insult comic at his Sunday rally calling Puerto Rico an island of garbage.
I will deliver the best future for Puerto Ricans and for Hispanic Americans.
Trump and his allies are now seizing on comments made by President Joe Biden yesterday, after he too waded into the controversy.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
Remember Hillary, she said deplorable? Garbage, I think, is worse, right?
Biden later posted on X that he was referring to the comedian's rhetoric. One state over from the Commonwealth, the increasingly red state of Ohio, is no longer a White House battleground, but it is knee-deep in the fight for control of Congress. Democratic incumbent Sherrod Brown needs Trump voters in his tight Senate race with Trump-backed challenger Bernie Moreno.
I want to maintain the control right now of the Senate.
You're not someone who always votes for one party.
No, I don't, because you have to really check and balances.
CBS News is watching 10 other Senate races as Democrats face a tight map that leaves them with slim hopes of holding on to their 51-49 majority. Jared Hill, CBS News, Cleveland, Ohio.
Early voting is underway in Ohio and dozens of other states. According to the University of Florida, more than 1.8 million Ohioans have already cast early ballots in this year's general election. Nationwide, that number climbs to more than 50 million early votes submitted so far. And that's a look at some of today's top national stories. Here's Lindsay with a look at your forecast.
We see a level 3 out of 5 risk, elevated risk in our counties, Kansas counties and Clipping, Nowata, and Washington County out in Oklahoma as well. That's going to continue through this evening with the storms moving in after 8 p.m.
Well, a troubling story out of Chesterfield, Virginia took an unusual turn in recent days into a happy ending. Earlier this month, thieves cleaned out a pumpkin farm, stealing just about everything. But then they did something entirely unexpected. Sarah Chockles reports.
After thousands of dollars worth of pumpkins and decor were stolen from the farm, Levi's Pumpkins owner Tammy Clark never thought she'd see the items again. It was the second year in a row they'd been targeted. This time, thieves running off with metal pumpkins, a homemade scarecrow, decorative lawn flags, and of course, the pumpkin stack. A devastating blow to Clark, who lost her 41-year-old son Levi, for whom the farm is named, several years ago to COVID-related complications. Some of the stolen items were special to him.
My head was just spinning. I couldn't believe it.
Clark says she was shocked when she saw a U-Haul truck coming up the drive late last Friday afternoon.
They introduced themselves and just said they would like to apologize for taking our items and for us to please forgive them for the foolish thing that they had done.
And have you?
Oh, yes.
Clark doesn't plan to press charges. She says 4 young men returned every single item that was taken, personally unloading everything in the truck and putting it all back in the right place.
As they were unloading the truck, I just sat down on a pile of lumber and just cried because I just said, thank you, God, for returning these items to us. And please make this a good lesson for these young men.
Between our story airing and the items being returned, Clark says the public has turned out in a big way, with folks buying most of their pumpkins, others dropping off monetary donations, sending replacement items, and even one leaving a gift basket. Children also drawing notes of support.
It just makes you feel happy that there really are caring, concerned people out there.
The family expressed deep gratitude for the community's support and love. Now let's check in with Lindsay for
We've got some storms in the area later on tonight, and we're going to break down the threats coming up. Well, taking a look at downtown Pittsburgh, it looks pretty good out there. We do have a few clouds starting to push in, and winds are gusting up to 30-35 miles per hour throughout the rest of the morning and early afternoon. Now, we are going to see those clouds moving through the area and even increasing ahead of the line of storms that we have moving in later on tonight, as well as wind gusts increasing a few miles per hour. Not too crazy. Last couple days have been very strong wind gusts, but as we head into the rest of this afternoon, looking pretty good. By 8 a.m. gusts up to 30 miles per hour, and then as we head into early afternoon, we can see in the western counties gusts up to 35 miles per hour. Iola, Yates Center, Chanute, Sedan, Parsons. So we're definitely seeing those stronger wind gusts ahead of these storms. Tonight, temperatures get down to 50 degrees, and we've got those severe thunderstorms with possible tornadoes as well. Now, we haven't seen a severe threat like this since spring, so we are, ramping up to have a potential for any type of severe weather. Now, tornadoes enhanced risk in the western counties, far western counties, all the way out to Chanute, Independence, Coffeyville area, Bartlesville area, and Fort Scott. Now, along with the enhanced risk, we also have a hatch zone. So that significant risk is those dashed lines. That hatch zone is where we're expecting to see the greatest potential for tornadoes to develop, especially in the isolated storms ahead of the main line of storms. Now, hail is an elevated risk to a low risk. We're not expecting massive threat for hail, and then winds gusting up to 80 miles per hour, so that enhanced risk as well. Now, we've got mostly cloudy skies as we head into early afternoon, and then by 3 p.m. you can see a couple of these spots where we're going to expect a couple isolated, discrete supercells that are going to be passing through, and this is where we see that threat for tornadic development in those discrete supercells. So as these supercells pass by, since they're not interacting with anything else around it, no other storms around it, you get a greater potential for the inflow to be pretty strong and outflow. So you get a nice updraft, a nice downdraft. So you get that potential is the strongest with these isolated or discrete supercells. So that's where we're going to expect to see our greatest tornadic development, 3 p.m. to about 7 p.m. in those isolated supercells ahead of the line. Now, along the main line of storms, as it's pushing in, this is around 8 p.m., as it's pushing in, you could still expect a couple of tornadoes to develop, but they're going to be short-lived and they're not going to be as strong. They're more spin-up tornadoes just due to the strong wind gusts and a little bit of rotation in along this line of storms. Now, it's pushing in. You can see Parsons, Coffeyville, Independence, all the way up to Fort Scott by 9:30 into far southeastern Kansas and northeastern Oklahoma closer to 11 p.m. and then hitting the Joplin Metro around midnight. And as you can see, a couple areas where it's going to start to bow out, and we could still again see the tornadoes, but our main threat for the bowing out segments is going to be the strong, damaging wind gusts, which can be just as damaging as any tornado can be. Now, it starts to pass by after about 2 a.m., and then we're going to end for a fantastic Thursday, great Halloween, sunny skies, cooler temperatures. The potential for rain accumulation anywhere from half an inch all the way up to 2.5 inches in some isolated spots. So we're getting a good amount of rain from this, and we definitely need it. It is an alert day today, so stay prepared. Get prepared for the storms later on tonight, but tomorrow and into the rest of the work week, it's going to be fantastic, much cooler, and sunny skies ahead of the rain chances this weekend. We'll go over to Elise with Health Watch.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, climate change is harming the health of hundreds of millions of people worldwide. A recent report published in The Lancet found heat-related deaths in 2023 were up 167% compared to the 90s. Increased flooding is leading to more infectious diseases, and water contamination and more frequent heat waves and droughts are causing more food insecurity. Well, some people are revoking their organ donation registrations after a mistake in which the organs of a living man were nearly removed. The accident happened in Kentucky in 2021 and came to light during a congressional hearing last month. The mistake was caught before surgery took place, but transplant experts say since the news was reported, hundreds of people have asked to be removed from the National Donor Registry. There's even been some impact overseas. And people who work out only on the weekends are helping lower their risk of cognitive decline and dementia. The British Journal of Sports Medicine found weekend warriors, or people who exercise just once or twice a week, got a significant benefit for their brain health. The findings underscore that just a little exercise can go a long way. And that's a look at Health Watch. We'll be right back. Right now at 6:30, Pitt State gets a financial boost for its chemistry and physics labs.
And we're heading into the evening with some strong to severe thunderstorm chances.
Plus, young voters at Crowder College get ready to head to the polls for the first time.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:29. I'm Elise Noe.
And I'm Lindsay Gaffney.
Yes, and thank you for joining us this morning, whether you're at home or on the go using our KOAM Plus app. You know, we're definitely going to need that today.
Yes.
With the storms that we're going to be expecting.
We haven't seen a severe threat in months, since the spring season. So this is a bit of a different pace than we've been seeing.
Right, yes.
But we've been waiting for the weather pattern to change up, and this is kind of the start of it, where we're going to start to see those cooler temperatures consistently in our area. Unfortunately, it comes with the severe
Got to get through the storm first, I guess.
So we're going to go ahead and take a look outside. Temperatures this morning starting off in the low 70s, so quite warm out there, plus winds gusting up to 30-35 miles per hour. Now, it is an alert day set for today due to the severe storm potential as we head into this evening. Now, currently looking pretty good. A couple of clouds out there. Winds again gusting up to 35 miles per hour and temperatures in the low 70s. Now, across the region, winds are 30 miles per hour, but as we head into early afternoon, gusting only up to 35. So we did have a wind advisory. However, it has been expired just due to the fact that these are not as strong as winds that we've seen the last couple of days. And as we head into tonight, winds are going to be even stronger along the storms. Now, we've got this elevated risk for storms, especially out in Kansas and Oklahoma, clipping Nowata and Washington County, and then clipping Bates County up in Missouri as well. Now, that elevated risk is for the storm potential tonight, 3 p.m. to midnight, golf ball sized hail, 80 mile per hour wind gusts, and even a few tornadoes are possible as well along the line of storms and ahead of the line of storms. So we're going to break that down in a little bit, but until then, it's looking pretty good. Temperatures are warm today, so getting up to the low 80s again, overcast skies and windy as well. Now, showers and isolated thunderstorms ahead of the main line start as early as 2-3 p.m. and then we're going to see some discrete supercells from about 3 p.m. all the way till about 7 p.m. Now 8 is when we're going to expect to see that main line of storms actually pushing in. As you can see the spike in rain chances all the way through midnight and into 2 a.m. That's where we're going to see our main line of storms pushing through with the bulk of rainfall, the strong wind gusts, and even a few spin-up tornadoes as well possible along that main line. But I'll break down all the threats coming up.
All right, we'll see you soon, Lindsay. Thanks. Well, for many Gen Zers, this will be the first time they'll vote in a general election. Now, they'll have to grapple with many of the same concerns as everyone else: cultural, economic, foreign issues. Now, we visited Crowder College in Neosho to see what motivates some of these first-time voters.
Along with the presidential side of it is also the amendments, which I think are also really important to be thinking about, because it's not only going to affect me but everyone else.
The lottery fund, the Arkansas Lottery Fund that goes to Arkansas education, and there had been disputes about how that money wasn't really going to education. It was just going to a random account in the bank.
Now, the college also says they highly encourage students to vote even if they have to go home or participate in absentee voting. Well, the Pittsburgh Rotary Club hosted a forum yesterday featuring candidates for Crawford County Sheriff. Now, the president of the Pittsburgh Area Chamber of Commerce moderated the event with candidates Danny Smith and Billy Tomasi. The forum was open to the public. Well, Pittsburgh State University is getting $5 million courtesy of Uncle Sam. The federal grants are to improve and update scientific equipment in chemistry and physics labs. U.S. Senator Jerry Moran had supported the funding and was on the campus yesterday for the announcement.
When it comes to this project and the projects that are exemplified in the photos today, in many instances, Pittsburgh State is out front developing their own plan. And that's the right thing to do. Sure, look around and see what else others are doing, but design a program that benefits your students, your region, your community.
The university says the school wants to stay on the industry edge, so the students will be prepared to walk from the classroom to working upon graduation. Well, the Joplin Area Transportation Study Organization, or JATSO for short, is on a mission to create a safer environment for all drivers in the area. Now, yesterday, the group held an open house at the Joplin Public Library. The latest studies show motorcycle accidents make up nearly a quarter of fatalities in the Joplin area, and substance-impaired accidents account for more than 22% of fatalities. Both are statistics JATSO wants to change.
Infrastructural behavior, distracted driving, impaired driving, those kind of statistics we have today. And our goal is to reduce the fatalities to zero. And that's our purpose here today, is just to get information from the public.
You still have time to fill out the JATSO online safety survey. It's available through today on the city's website. Well, the city of Joplin wants to invite the public to a meeting concerning improvements along Route 66. Topics will include plans to make pavement, sidewalk, traffic, and safety improvements along Route 66 or Joplin 7th Street. Now, the open house style in-person meeting will be on November 7th from 4:30 to 6 in the Joplin City Council chambers. For more information, just head over to our website. Of course, that's KOAMnewsnow.com. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Well, new data released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows hiring has slowed, but workers still remain in demand. And we're tracking thunderstorms for tonight. We'll have what to expect with Lindsay Gaffney in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, well, as the weather cools, it's time to snuggle up with a good book. And it turns out many readers have their hearts set on romance. Naomi Ruckham tells us about the boom in romance-only bookstores and what's attracting readers of all backgrounds.
Fun and inviting. For Leah Koch, the story started in 2016 when she and her sister opened the nation's first ever romance bookstore in Los Angeles.
We really opened the kind of store that we would want to shop at.
Last year, the sisters began their next chapter, unveiling a second location of the Ripped Bodice in Brooklyn.
Which one do you think you should buy? Well, all of them.
The store is fun, flirty, and fabulous, with books ranging from tame to whatever your heart desires.
Romance novels have to have a happy ending. Now, in the olden times, that meant, married with children. These days, really, it's just the happy part.
And that happily ever after is reaching farther than ever before, with at least 18 romance bookstores now open across the U.S. Print book sales in the genre are on fire, from 17 million units in 2019 to nearly 40 million in 2023. Industry experts say readers' interest ballooned during the pandemic.
Really, two things happened during that time. The first is that Bridgerton was released on Netflix in early 2020, and that kind of grew the appetite for, these romance-focused stories. And then it was also the emergence of book talk, and passionate readers are posting videos and sharing the books that they're interested in and excited about reading.
Women own and operate the growing number of romance bookstores, and most of their clientele are women too. Readers Carla Ponce and Christina Henricks say they used to feel shame over their romance reading, even using book covers in public.
It's just so nice to finally be able to see that romance is actually finally getting accepted the way it wasn't really before.
Our generation is so open in general with everything that has to do with love.
that it's just so normal now to read it and like talk about it.
For romance authors, readers, and store owners alike, it's a fairy tale come true. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, Brooklyn, New York.
U.S. jobs opening fell to their lowest level in more than 3 years. The latest numbers from the Labor Department shows that job openings dropped to 7.4 million in September, down from 7.9 million in August. Now, the healthcare industry and government agencies were most impacted. The number of job vacancies posted is still higher than before the pandemic. The number of layoffs increased last month, while the number of Americans quitting their jobs also dropped to a 4-year low. Well, Tupperware Brands could be on its way out of bankruptcy proceedings. A U.S. judge in Delaware has approved the company's sale to a group of lenders for tens of millions of dollars in assets and debt relief. In a recent statement, Tupperware Brands said the new Tupperware company will be rebuilt with a startup mentality. And a new survey from the finance company Bankrate found that more than half of U.S. adults made at least one impulse purchase last holiday season. Younger adult shoppers were more likely to make impulse buys than older Americans. The top reason given was that the item purchased was a great deal. The National Retail Federation predicts a record holiday shopping season, with spending expected to top $975 billion this year. And that's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Lindsay with another look at your forecast.
We're heading into tonight with a severe threat for thunderstorms, actually a elevated risk, which is a level 3 out of 5, and we haven't seen a level 3 out of 5 risk since the spring. So you can see it's in most of our counties out in Kansas, just clipping Pittsburgh area, Girard area, Erie, Fort Scott, so just outside of Nevada, and then Bartlesville as well out in Newada County and Washington County in Oklahoma. Now the rest of us in a slight risk for severe storms, and we're expecting that timing around 3 p.m. to a little after midnight. Now, the main line of storms moving in at 8 p.m. in our area and then continuing to work its way to the central counties and even off to the east. But it starts at 8 p.m. But from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. we're getting these discrete supercells that are popping up, and that could be where we see our greatest potential for tornadoes. We've got that elevated risk, golf ball size hail, and 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And the threats that we see, especially with tornadoes, we've got that hatch zone where our enhanced risk is in the western counties, and that's where we're going to see our greatest potential, especially ahead of the main line along the isolated supercells that pop up is where we can see the greatest potential for storms and tornadoes. Now, along the main line of storms, could still see a couple of tornadoes, but they won't be as strong and they will be pretty brief. Now, hail is not a very high risk, elevated risk, but not as strong as winds with that enhanced risk, 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So we definitely have a lot of threats for tonight. Some potential for severe weather, definitely damage as we head into Halloween, but clearing out just in time to have a good Halloween, clear skies, mid-60s, but we'll talk more about that coming up. But first, it's almost time to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. They're up after the break, but let's see what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Gail King, coming right up on CBS Morning. Vlad is talking with two-time Tony winner, there she is, Shayna Taub, about her original musical stuffs and collaborating with Elton John for the Devil Wears Prada musical. I can't wait to see that. That's coming right up on CBS Mornings.
Well, it's time for some Wednesday birthdays here in the 4 states, starting in South Radley, Kansas, with 6-year-old Gia Vid. Happy birthday.
And moving on over to Brianna Thornton, turning 33 today out in Bay Area, Kansas. Happy birthday.
And happy 62nd birthday to Steve Dooley in Columbus. Says here, happy birthday, Papa, from his little ones.
And Joyce Adar turning 69 today. Love from all of your family and friends at the Senior Center.
And over in Buffalo, Kansas, a happy 77th birthday to Larry Liverenz.
And finally out in Riverton, Kansas, Tandy Almond turning another year older. Happy birthday, Tandy.
What a great list of birthdays there. If you'd like to celebrate your birthday or anniversary with us, you can do so by submitting those celebrations to birthdays at KOAMnewsnow.com. Be sure to include those photos and messages to meet the deadline at the bottom of your screen and to include the date of your celebration when submitting as well. Now let's head over to Lindsay with a look at the forecast.
Well, taking a look at downtown Pittsburgh, we've got a few clouds starting to push in, but overall it is a nice looking morning so far. Winds gusting up to 30-35 miles per hour and temperatures in the low 70s. So we're starting off pretty good, breezy but warm, and a couple of clouds. Now clouds are going to start to increase. You can start to see them building up a little bit just east of Wichita, just west of our area. And then storms are not going to be far behind it as we head into the afternoon. Now, winds gusting up to 30 miles per hour through 9 a.m., but strengthen just slightly, especially out on the western counties, up to 35 miles per hour. Nothing too crazy. The last couple of days we've seen very strong wind gusts, 45 to 50 miles per hour. Today, a little bit lighter, but we head into a pretty strong threat for severe weather as we head into tonight. Temperatures getting down to only about 50 degrees, so we're still going to be above average for our overnight lows, but those severe thunderstorms are possible, and there is even a potential for tornadoes as well. We haven't seen this since the spring. We're starting to see our weather patterns shifting up from summer weather pattern to a winter weather pattern, so that's why we're getting these strong storms, gusts up to 80 miles per hour as we head into the afternoon. Now, breaking down the threats a little bit, we've got an enhanced risk for tornadoes in our, you can see just outside of Chanute, Independence, Parsons area, and then even the dash lines, that is a hatch zone, significant hatch zone for any type of tornadic development, especially in the discrete supercells ahead of the main line, which we'll talk about coming up. Now, hail in the Missouri, Arkansas side, low threat, not too crazy. And then we're heading into Kansas and Oklahoma side with an elevated risk, level 2 out of 5. Again, nothing too crazy for hail, though we could expect to still see some small hail. Now, winds are going to be an enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5 risk for wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour. This is just as damaging as any tornado can be, and that is also for Kansas counties and clipping Nowata and Washington County in Oklahoma and Bates County in Missouri. So we're going to walk through the rest of the afternoon, mostly overcast skies, temperatures getting up to low 80s, upper 70s, and by about 3 p.m. as we're starting to see a couple of these isolated supercells pop up. Now, a couple of isolated scattered showers, nothing too crazy there, but as we head into, you can see about 4 p.m. is where some of these isolated showers are going to spark up to isolated discrete supercells. Now with these supercells is where we see that potential for tornado development with a strong inflow, strong updraft, strong downdraft. That's where we see that rotation start to occur, and with no other interaction from nearby storms, the potential for tornadoes to develop is greater with these isolated supercells, and they could be on the ground much longer than they would be if they were a part of the main line. Now, as the threat for the isolated supercells kind of dissipates as we head into the later evening hours where we're going to see that main line of storms move in after 8 p.m., this is where we're seeing our greatest chance for strong damaging wind gusts. However, can't rule out a tornado either, especially on some of these, when you see those inflow notches, that's where we're going to see the potential for a tornado to touch down. Now those tornadoes are not going to be as strong as they would be in an isolated supercell, and they won't be as on the ground as long either. So brief, more weak tornadoes associated with a main line of storms. Now, but as it pushes in, about 11 p.m., making it all the way to the border of Kansas and Missouri, Pittsburgh, Columbus, Miami, Veneta area, Nevada area. Now you're going to start to see where it bows out a little bit, and that's where we're seeing those wind gusts strengthening to 70, 80 mile per hour wind gusts, hitting the Joplin metro just about midnight, and then starting to push past and push out of our area by about 1:32 a.m. So the potential that we could see up to 2.5 inches of rain in some areas, Coffeyville, Parsons, maybe even Columbus, but the rest of us seeing about 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches. So a good amount of rain, though we have greater chances for more rainfall accumulation as we head into the weekend. But we do have that alert day set for today due to the severe storm potential tonight, and then heading into Halloween, clear skies, temperatures in the mid-60s. Fantastic. Now coming up when the KOAM morning news switches on over to Fox 14, hear how a California airport allows visitors to immerse themselves into the ocean.
Well, here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Authorities charge a man after shots are fired in Joplin's downtown bar district. Police arrested 23-year-old K. James Gilpin for unlawful use of a weapon. According to JPD, Gilpin fired a gun and a 22-year-old man was struck in the eye by a bullet fragment or piece of debris. Now, the victim was rushed to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Gilpin posted a $10,000 bond. Well, Carthage City Council votes to impeach Mayor Dan Rife. Last night, 6 members of the City Council voted in favor of the impeachment and found Mayor Dan Rife guilty of all articles of impeachment except one. The board affirmed and declared Rife's removal from office effective October 29, 2024. Rife's attorney then moved to make another motion to stay the removal pending an appeal. That motion was denied. Jasper County authorities charged 3 people for unlawful gambling activity. All 3 are citizens of India in the U.S. on temporary visas and are now facing charges of felony promoting gambling. The charges stem from a Joplin Police Department search last week at Spin Hitters, a local gaming machine location. All 3 suspects have posted bond. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And today we've got an alert day set for the storms coming in tonight. A level 3 out of 5 severe weather threat. 3 p.m. to a little after midnight is our window. Now tomorrow, Halloween, looking fantastic. Temperatures drop down to the mid-60s following the cold front that's bringing us all our storms tonight.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making tuna melt casserole in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, we'll hear from a few organizers from the Crafts and Creation Craft Fair on how you can support Shriners Children's Hospital.
Plus, Jamil also joins us in the studio to talk about some of the nation's finest skaters in 2025.
Ooh.
But that'll wrap it up for now. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you today at noon.